So I'm crammed behind a bookshelf that smells like forgotten dreams and old paper. My knees are basically touching my chin, and 5 extremely dangerous alphas are hunting me like I'm some kind of magical treasure. This is not how I thought my Tuesday would go. But here's the thing. They want me for something I don't even understand, and I'm not about to let them catch me until I figure out what's happening. Kindly do me a favor and subscribe, because this hiding spot won't last forever and you'll want to see what happens next. The silver glow started maybe 20 minutes ago while I was dusting the philosophy section. 1 second I'm normal Magnus, the quiet Omega who shelves books and minds his own business, and the next second my hands are literally glowing like I stuck my fingers in a lamp. The light spread up my arms, warm and tingly, and then every single candle in the library lit up at once even though they hadn't been used in years. That's when I heard them coming. 5 sets of footsteps, running, and Raiden's voice cutting through the halls yelling something about the awakening and find him now. I panicked, obviously, grabbed my notepad and pen, shoved them in my hoodie pocket, and took off running through the mansion's back corridors. The Orlando estate is massive, 3 floors of winding hallways and hidden rooms, and I've spent the last 6 months exploring every inch during my lunch breaks. Never thought I'd need an escape route from my own employers, but apparently fate had other plans. Raiden Orlando is the oldest, 28, dark curly hair, always wearing those round glasses that make him look more like a professor than a crime boss. He runs the family's operations with this scary kind of calm, the type where you know he's 3 steps ahead of everyone else. I've seen him dissolve entire business deals with just a raised eyebrow. Then there's Jonas, the second oldest, built like he could bench press a car. He's got these intense brown eyes and a collection of scars he never bothers hiding. Head of security, which means he notices everything. I once dropped a book 2 floors away and he somehow heard it. Killian's the middle one, 25, and he's the smooth talker. Dirty blonde hair, always smirking, handles all their negotiations, which I'm pretty sure means threatening people in a charming way. He's the one who hired me, actually looked at my references instead of just my medical records. 4th is Jax, the tech genius who lives in hoodies and has at least 6 computers running at all times. He's got bright red hair he dyes himself and is probably younger than the others, maybe 23. Quiet, but in that I know all your secrets way. And finally there's Phoenix, the artist. 24, black hair with silver streaks, paint permanently under his fingernails. His studio takes up the entire West Wing tower, and sometimes I'd find sketches left on the library tables. Beautiful, haunting things that made me feel seen in a way I couldn't explain. So yeah, 5 alphas, 5 very different personalities, and all of them currently trying to track me down like I'm the last cookie in the jar. I pressed myself further into my hiding spot between the encyclopedias and the wall, trying to quiet my breathing. My legs were already cramping from being folded up so tight, but I didn't dare move. Through the gaps in the books, I could see shadows moving across the floor as they searched the library section by section. He's definitely still here, Jonas said, his voice closer than I'd like. I can smell the magic on him. It's like lightning and honey. Poetic, Killian drawled, but not helpful. This library has 10,000 books and approximately 800 hiding spots. I should know. I used to hide here when Mother wanted me to attend her charity galas. Focus, Raiden snapped, though he didn't sound angry, just stressed. Vincent. Anything on the cameras? Wait, who's Vincent? There were only 5 of them, right? Nothing useful, Jax replied. Oh, okay. Jax must go by Vincent sometimes, that made sense. He's avoiding every camera like he's got a map of blind spots in his head. Smart kid. He's not a kid, Phoenix said quietly. He's 21, reads poetry in 3 languages, and reorganized our entire horror section by subgenre instead of author name. That takes intelligence and creativity. My face went hot. Phoenix noticed that. I'd done that reorganization on my own time because the old system made no sense. Never expected anyone to actually pay attention. Sweet, Killian said, amusement in his voice. Phoenix has a crush. Shut up. Both of you shut up, Raiden interrupted. Magnus, if you can hear me, I need you to understand something. That light you saw, that power, it's called the Lunar Gift. Only one Omega in a generation receives it, and it means you're connected to the old magic, the kind that keeps our world balanced. I stayed silent, obviously. Even if I could talk, I wouldn't have known what to say to that. The problem is, Raiden continued, walking slowly between the shelves, other families know about the prophecy. The Volkovs, the Chens, the DeMarcos, they'd all kill to possess someone with your abilities. And we're not about to let that happen. So you're going to possess me instead? I thought bitterly. Great options all around. We don't want to possess you, Phoenix said, like he could hear my thoughts. The prophecy says the lunar-blessed Omega will bond with 5 alphas who'll protect the territories. That's us. But bonds have to be willing, they can't be forced. We just need you to hear us out. Though you're making that really difficult right now, Jonas added, sounding frustrated. Come on, Magnus. Your legs have to be cramping in whatever tiny space you've wedged yourself into. He wasn't wrong, but I still wasn't moving. I heard footsteps approaching my section, slow and deliberate. Through the gap between books, I saw Phoenix's paint-stained sneakers stop right in front of my shelf. I know you're scared, he said softly. 6 months ago, you walked into our home with a recommendation letter and this determined look on your face. You handed Killian a note that said, I can't speak, but I can work harder than anyone you've ever hired. Do you remember what he said? I did remember. Killian had read the note, looked me up and down and said, Prove it. You proved it every single day, Phoenix continued. Showed up early, stayed late, treated every book in this library like it was precious. I used to watch you from the gallery sometimes. Sorry if that's weird, but you looked so peaceful when you were working. Like you'd found exactly where you belonged. My throat felt tight. I had felt that way. For the first time in my life, I'd had a job where people didn't treat me like I was broken or helpless. We should have talked to you sooner, Phoenix admitted. Should have explained what we suspected when the signs started showing up. The way electronics would go haywire when you were frustrated, how plants seemed to grow faster in sections you'd organized, the fact that you never got sick even during flu season. We thought we had more time before the awakening, thought maybe we were wrong. But we weren't, and now you're terrified and hiding from us, and I hate that. Phoenix, Raiden warned, don't get too emotional, you'll cloud the bond sense. Maybe emotional is what we need right now, Phoenix shot back. We've been treating this like a business transaction instead of... A loud crash from downstairs cut him off. Everyone froze. What was that? Killian asked, already moving toward the staircase. Security breach, Jonas said grimly. East entrance. Multiple hostiles. More footsteps, running now. Raiden's voice sharp with command. Vincent, lock down the library wing. Phoenix, stay here and keep searching. The rest of you with me. But... Phoenix started to protest. Now. They left in a rush, all except Phoenix who stayed behind, pacing in front of my section. I could hear fighting from below, shouts and sounds that made my stomach twist with worry. Magnus, Phoenix said urgently. I know you don't trust us yet, but there are people in this house right now who want to hurt you. Actually hurt you, not just explain things badly and chase you around. I need you to stay hidden and stay quiet. Okay? Don't come out for anyone except me. As if I was planning to come out at all. He ran toward the staircase, and I was alone in the sudden silence. My heart wouldn't stop racing, and the silver light was trying to come back, flickering around my fingers like it had a mind of its own. That's when I heard the different footsteps. Heavier, unfamiliar, moving through the library with purpose. Find the Omega, a rough voice said in accented English. Boss says we bring him back alive, but nobody said he had to be unharmed. Oh no. Oh no no no. I tried to make myself smaller, which was basically impossible given I was already folded up like origami. The silver light was getting brighter though, responding to my fear, and I frantically tried to will it away before it gave away my position. Check every shelf, another voice ordered. He's here somewhere. I can smell the magic. They were getting closer, methodical and efficient. I counted at least 4 different voices, maybe 5. My hiding spot suddenly felt way less secure. The light around my hands flared brighter, and in my panic, something weird happened. The encyclopedias in front of me shifted, rearranging themselves to fill in the gaps, creating a more solid wall between me and the open aisle. I didn't touch them, they just moved on their own, responding to what I needed. Okay, so apparently I could move objects with my mind now. Sure, why not? Today was already impossible. Here! One of the intruders shouted. I found something. My heart nearly stopped, but then I realized he wasn't talking about me. Through my encyclopedia wall, I could see him holding up one of my cardigans that I'd left draped over a chair earlier. He was here recently, the man said. Spread out. Search the whole floor. They fanned out, and I heard them pulling books off shelves, knocking over furniture, being completely disrespectful to the library and also to my personal safety. The silver light kept pulsing around my hands, and I noticed something else strange. I could feel the books around me, like they were extensions of my own awareness. The encyclopedias, the dictionaries, even the old atlases on the shelf above, I could sense them all. When one of the intruders got too close to my section, the books seemed to whisper a warning in my mind. Without thinking, I pushed that feeling outward, and suddenly an entire shelf of dictionaries toppled over on the other side of the room. Over there! The footsteps ran toward the noise, away from me. Okay, that was useful. Terrifying, but useful. I did it again, knocking over a stack of historical manuscripts near the windows. Then some poetry collections by the reading nook. I sent them on a chase around the library while I stayed frozen in my spot, barely breathing, trying to figure out how I was doing any of this. Downstairs, the fighting sounded intense. I heard Jonas roaring something about my house, and glass breaking, and Killian's voice smooth and deadly saying, "Wrong move, friend." There's too many of them. One of the library intruders said into what sounded like a radio. The Orlandos have full security mobilized. We need backup or extraction. Negative. A crackling voice responded. Complete the mission or don't come back. The men in the library cursed in what I think was Russian. They started searching more frantically, destroying things now instead of being careful. I watched helplessly as they ripped pages from rare books, kicked over carefully organized sections, undid months of my work in minutes. Something hot and angry flared in my chest, mixing with the fear. This was MY Library, my space, and they had no right. The silver light exploded outward like a shockwave. Every book in the entire room lifted into the air at once, hundreds of them, thousands maybe, floating in suspended animation. The intruders froze, staring in shock and fear at the impossible sight. And then, because apparently I had zero control over this power, all the books started flying. Not randomly, they targeted the intruders specifically, pelting them from all directions. Heavy encyclopedias to the head, paperbacks smacking into faces. One guy got absolutely buried under an avalanche of romance novels which felt oddly appropriate. "Retreat!" one of them yelled, stumbling toward the stairs. "It's him, he's here, we need." A massive dictionary caught him in the chest and knocked him flat. I watched from my hiding spot, equal parts amazed and horrified. The books were defending me, or maybe I was defending myself through them. I honestly couldn't tell the difference anymore. The silver light had turned into a full glow now, radiating from my skin like I was some kind of human nightlight. The intruders scrambled for the exit, books chasing them the whole way. I heard them crash down the stairs, probably running into the Orlandos on their way out, and then silence. The books slowly lowered themselves back to the floor, settling in neat piles like nothing had happened. The silver light faded from my skin, leaving me shaky and exhausted in my hiding spot. Footsteps on the stairs again, familiar ones this time. "Magnus!" Phoenix called out, sounding worried and breathless. "Magnus, where are you? Are you okay?" I stayed quiet, even though part of me wanted to reveal myself. My legs were completely numb now, and I was pretty sure I'd pulled something in my back. "The books," Raiden said, wonder in his voice. "He did this. The Lunar Gift is stronger than we thought. We need to find him, Jonas insisted. There could be more attackers coming. Give him space, Phoenix argued. He just had his awakening in the middle of a home invasion. He's probably scared out of his mind. Scared or not, he's safer with us than alone. I heard them moving through the library, carefully this time, stepping around the scattered books. Killian kept muttering about insurance claims and explaining floating books to the cleaning staff. Magnus, Raiden said, his voice carrying authority but also something gentler underneath. You just saved yourself using magic you didn't know you had. That's incredible, truly, but it also means you're going to need guidance. Training. The Lunar Gift is powerful, but without control it could hurt you or people around you. That got my attention. I didn't want to hurt anyone, even accidentally. We can teach you, he continued, help you understand what you are, what you can do. But we need you to trust us enough to come out of hiding first. Jack spoke up, his voice analytical. For what it's worth, I've been monitoring your vitals through the security system. Don't ask how, long story, and your heart rate is dangerously elevated. You need water, probably food, and definitely somewhere more comfortable than whatever crawl space you're currently occupying. Also, Killian added cheerfully, Phoenix has been making sad puppy eyes for the last 10 minutes and it's getting pathetic. Please come out before he starts actually whimpering. I do not make puppy eyes, Phoenix protested. You absolutely do. Despite everything, I felt my lips twitch toward a smile. They were ridiculous, these 5 alphas who ran a criminal empire but bickered like siblings. The silver light flickered around my fingers again, gentler this time, and I realized something. It responded to my emotions. Fear made it explosive, but curiosity made it soft and warm. Maybe if I focused on calm, on trust, even just a little bit. I took a deep breath and let the light guide me. It spread from my hands to the encyclopedias blocking my hiding spot, and slowly, carefully, the books slid aside to reveal me cramped in the corner. 5 pairs of eyes immediately locked onto me. Yay! My life just went from 0 to completely insane, and you won't want to miss what happens next. So go subscribe right now. Hey! Phoenix said softly, crouching down to my level. There you are. I gave a small, awkward wave, very aware of how ridiculous I must look wedged into a space meant for books, not people. Can you move? Jonas asked, concern replacing his usual gruffness. Or are you stuck? Honestly, I wasn't sure. I tried to straighten my legs and immediately regretted it as pins and needles shot through both limbs. My face must have shown the pain because suddenly Phoenix was reaching toward me. May I? He asked, waiting for my nod before gently helping me extract myself from the corner. It was not graceful. I basically tumbled out like a baby giraffe learning to walk, and would have face-planted if Phoenix hadn't caught me. His hands were warm, steadying, and up close I could smell paint and something like cedarwood. Easy, he murmured. Just lean on me until your legs wake up. The other alphas kept their distance, probably trying not to overwhelm me, but I could feel their attention like a physical weight. Raiden was studying me with those sharp eyes. Jonas looked ready to fight anyone who came near. Killian seemed amused by the whole situation, and Jax was typing something on his ever-present tablet. So, Killian said brightly, that was quite the light show. Any chance you could teach the books to alphabetize themselves? Would save us a fortune in labor costs. I glared at him, fumbling for my notepad and pen. My hands were shaking too much to write properly, but I managed. Not funny. People got hurt. The people who got hurt broke into our home to kidnap you, Raiden corrected firmly. You defended yourself beautifully, though we do need to discuss control before you accidentally demolish the entire library. Phoenix helped me over to a reading chair, keeping a hand on my shoulder as I sat down. The casual touch should have bothered me, but somehow it didn't. Felt grounding. I wrote another note. What prophecy? What do you actually want from me? The 5 alphas exchanged looks, having some kind of silent conversation. Finally, Raiden pulled up a chair across from me while the others arranged themselves around the room. 300 years ago, he began. The moon goddess made a deal with the 5 founding families of this city. She would bless the territories with protection and prosperity, but in return, every generation must have guardians. 5 alphas chosen to maintain the balance between the magical and mundane worlds. I nodded slowly, writing, "And me. The guardians can't function at full power without their anchor," Phoenix explained. "Someone blessed by the goddess herself. An Omega who can channel pure lunar magic. That's you, Magnus. You're our anchor, our connection to the old power. Which is why every other family wants you," Jonas added grimly. "If they control the anchor, they control the city's magic. They could overturn the balance, start wars, destroy everything." I stared at my notepad, trying to process. This morning I'd been worried about whether we needed more fantasy novels in the young adult section. Now I was apparently the linchpin of magical city politics. I wrote, "Why didn't you tell me before?" "We didn't know for sure it was you," Jack said, looking up from his tablet. "The signs were there, but they're subtle. Increased intuition, minor reality adjustments, the way you seem to know exactly where every book belonged even in sections you'd never organized. We were investigating quietly, waiting for the awakening to confirm. And then it happened in the middle of a security crisis," Raiden said, frustration evident. "Worst possible timing." I wrote another note, my hand steadier now. "You said bond. What does that mean exactly?" The temperature in the room seemed to shift, all 5 alphas suddenly very focused on me. "A bond is," Phoenix started, then hesitated. "It's a connection, magical and emotional. It would link the 6 of us. Let us share strength and power. You'd be able to access our alpha abilities, and we'd be able to help you control your gift. It's also permanent," Killian added bluntly. "Once formed, it can't be broken, which is why it has to be your choice, completely and freely made." I wrote, "And if I say no?" "Then you say no," Raiden said simply. "We'd still protect you, still teach you to control your magic. The bond isn't required for that, it just makes everything easier, stronger. But pressure-free," Phoenix insisted. "We're not asking you to decide anything right now. You've had the worst introduction to this world possible. You deserve time to adjust." I looked at the 5 of them, really looked. Raiden with his careful control and strategic mind. Jonas with his protective instincts and barely contained power. Killian with his charm hiding something sharper underneath. Jax with his quiet intelligence and constant observation. Phoenix with his artistic soul and genuine kindness. They were dangerous, definitely. Criminals, probably. But they'd also just fought off an invasion to keep me safe. And they were sitting here asking permission instead of demanding obedience. I wrote, "I need time to think. And maybe some answers that aren't terrifying." "Fair," Killian said with a grin. "How about we start with dinner? You haven't eaten since breakfast. And we have an excellent chef who makes this pasta thing that's basically heaven." My stomach chose that moment to growl loudly, betraying me. Phoenix laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Dinner it is," he said. "And then maybe we can answer your questions in a more comfortable setting. Somewhere with fewer books trying to defend you." I glanced around the library, at the scattered volumes and toppled shelves, feeling a pang of guilt. I wrote, "I'll help clean this up first." "Absolutely not," Jonas said firmly. "You just manifested massive magical power and survived an attack. You're resting." "We have people for cleaning," Jax added. "Very well-paid people who are used to weird situations." Raiden stood, offering me his hand. "Come on, let's get some food in you, and then we'll talk about everything. No more chasing, no more hiding. Just conversation." I hesitated for only a moment before taking his hand. It was warm and solid, and when he helped me to my feet, I noticed the silver light flickered briefly between our palms before fading. "Did you see that?" Phoenix asked excitedly. "The beginning of bond recognition," Raiden said quietly. "His magic acknowledges us, even if he hasn't made a conscious choice yet." We headed downstairs, and I got my first look at the aftermath of the invasion. Several windows were broken, furniture was overturned, and there were unconscious men in black tactical gear zip-tied in the main hall. Staff members were already working on repairs, barely batting an eye at the chaos. "This happen often?" I wrote, showing the note to Killian, who was walking beside me. "Define often," he said with a shrug. "We get attempted invasions maybe once every few months. Usually they're smarter about it though, not quite so direct. The Volkovs must be desperate." We reached the dining room, and I stopped in the doorway. The table was set for 6 with actual china and candles. Like they'd been expecting this. Like they'd hoped I'd join them. "We're optimistic," Phoenix said, noticing my expression. "Sue us." Dinner was surprisingly normal, considering. The pasta Killian had mentioned was incredible, and they kept the conversation light. Asking about my favorite books, whether I'd tried the new bakery downtown, what music I liked. They were trying to make me comfortable, and frustratingly, it was working. "So," Jack said between bites, "I have a question. How did you know about all the camera blind spots in the house?" I wrote quickly, "Curious person, like exploring. Noticed patterns." "You mapped out our entire security system without trying," he said, looking impressed. "That's the Lunar Gift at work, giving you enhanced awareness and intuition." "Can he do other things?" Phoenix asked. "Besides the book Tornado, which was admittedly awesome." Raiden gave him a look. "We'll explore his abilities gradually. Pushing too hard too fast could be dangerous." I wrote, "What happened to the men who broke in?" "Handed over to our associates," Jonas said carefully. "They'll be questioned about who sent them and what they knew. Don't worry, we'll get information." The way he said it made me think I didn't want details about their interrogation methods. After dinner, Phoenix offered to show me the guest room they'd prepared. "Just in case," he said. "No obligation to stay, but it's there if you want it." The room was on the 3rd floor, spacious and comfortable with a view of the gardens. Someone had stocked it with books. I noticed several of my favorite authors on the shelf. "We pay attention," Phoenix said softly when he saw me notice. "Even before we knew about the prophecy, we paid attention to you." I wrote, "Why?" He was quiet for a moment, leaning against the doorframe. "Because you're interesting. Because you move through the world differently than most people, noticing things others miss. Because you treat books like friends and always remember to water the plants in the library, even though it's not your job." He smiled. "Because when you laugh at something you're reading, you cover your mouth like you're worried about disturbing people. But your eyes light up and it's the best thing I've seen all day." My face felt hot. I wrote, "That's detailed." "I'm an artist," he said with a shrug. "I observe. It's kind of my thing." There was a knock on the door, and Raiden appeared with a small box. "Before you rest, I wanted to give you this. It belonged to the last lunar-blessed Omega, about 80 years ago." Inside the box was a silver bracelet, delicate but strong, with moon phases etched into the metal. "It's spelled to help with control," Raiden explained. "When you're feeling overwhelmed or the magic is too much, it'll ground you. Consider it a welcome gift, I suppose." I slipped it on, and immediately felt a subtle shift. The constant buzzing energy under my skin quieted to a manageable hum. I wrote, "Thank you. For this and for dinner. For not actually forcing me into anything." "We meant what we said," Raiden replied. "This is your choice. Always." They left me alone after that, and I sat on the bed processing everything. Through the window, I could see the city lights, ordinary people living ordinary lives with no idea that magic and prophecies existed in the shadows. My phone buzzed. They'd returned it while I was at dinner. The magic lessons started small. Raiden teaching me to sense the energy around me, Jax helping me understand the technical aspects, Phoenix encouraging creative applications. "Try moving just one book," Phoenix suggested during our 3rd session. "Feel its weight, its texture. Imagine it in your hand." I focused on a small poetry collection, and slowly, carefully, it lifted from the shelf and floated toward me. When I caught it, Phoenix's grin was radiant. "Perfect." Now try. The book exploded into flowers. We both stared at the shower of paper petals now covering the floor. Did you mean to do that? Phoenix asked. I shook my head frantically, mortified. No, that's actually amazing, he said, kneeling to pick up a petal. You transformed it. That's advanced magic, Magnus. Really advanced. I wrote. But I destroyed a book. You created art, he corrected. There's a difference. The bond between us was growing whether I acknowledged it or not. Little moments where our hands would brush and silver light would spark. Times when I'd think about needing something and one of them would appear with it. Dreams that felt shared, conversations that happened without words. It was terrifying and wonderful in equal measure. Then came the evening that changed everything again. I was in the library after hours, reorganizing the history section when I felt it. A warning pulse from the bracelet, a sense of wrongness in the air. Someone was in the house who shouldn't be. I pulled out my phone to text the group chat, but before I could, a woman appeared in the doorway. She was beautiful in a cold, sharp way, dressed in white, and when she smiled it didn't reach her eyes. Hello, little Omega, she said. I've been looking for you. The silver light flared around my hands instinctively. Oh, don't be afraid, she purred. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to offer you a choice. A real one. Not the illusion the Orlandos have been feeding you. I grabbed my notepad. Who are you? Tatiana Volkov, she said. And I know what you really are, what that prophecy actually means. The Orlandos are using you, little one. That bond they want, it's a leash, a way to control your power for themselves. I shook my head, writing furiously. They said it's my choice. And you believe them? She laughed. They're criminals, Omega. Killers and thieves. Do you really think they care about one mute librarian beyond what you can do for them? Her words dug into insecurities I'd been trying to ignore. Was I really that special or just useful? Come with me, Tatiana said, extending her hand. I'll teach you to use your power for yourself, not as someone's tool. I'll give you a voice, literally, the Lunar Gift can heal. Did they tell you that? You could speak again. I could speak again. The thought made my chest tight with longing. To have conversations without notes, to laugh out loud, to say everything I'd been holding inside for years. All you have to do is walk away from them, she continued. Choose freedom over servitude. The library doors burst open, and all 5 alphas rushed in, clearly alerted by something. Magnus, get away from her, Raiden commanded, his voice hard. Now, Jonas added, already moving toward me. But Tatiana was faster, grabbing my wrist and pulling me toward the window. Last chance, Omega. Them or yourself, choose. The silver light exploded around us both, and I felt the bracelet crack under the pressure of too much power. Books flew off shelves. The air crackled with energy, and I realized with horror that I was losing control. Magnus, Phoenix shouted. Focus on us, on the bond. Let us help. But Tatiana's grip was iron, and her voice was honey. Your power, your choice, your freedom. Take it. The magic surged wild and desperate through my veins, responding to my confusion and fear. I could feel it reaching out in all directions, could feel 5 different pulls toward the alphas who were shouting my name, could feel Tatiana's cold ambition trying to redirect the flow. Everything was too much, too loud, too bright. And then I remembered something Phoenix had said during training. Magic responds to truth, not volume. What was my truth? I looked at the 5 alphas, really looked at them. At Raiden, who'd given me time and space instead of demands. At Jonas, who'd taught me to defend myself because he respected my strength. At Killian, who made me laugh when everything felt overwhelming. At Jax, who explained things patiently until I understood. At Phoenix, who saw me as a person first, Omega second. They weren't perfect, but they'd never lied to me. Never pretended to be anything other than what they were. Dangerous men trying to do something good. And what was Tatiana offering? A fantasy of independence that came with a different kind of chain. I made my choice. The silver light condensed, focused, and I pushed it outward in a directed wave that sent Tatiana stumbling backward, breaking her grip on my wrist. She hit the wall hard, shock evident on her face. Wrong answer, I wanted to say, but instead I stood there shaking, power still crackling around me like lightning. The 5 alphas moved as one unit, surrounding me in a protective circle. Jonas hauled Tatiana up roughly while Killian made a phone call that sounded distinctly threatening. Magnus, Raiden said carefully, approaching me slowly. Can you hear me? I need you to breathe. Count to 5. Let the magic settle. I really tried, but the energy was still spiraling. The broken bracelet had left me with no anchor, no way to ground myself. Books were still floating, windows rattling, and I could feel the power building towards something catastrophic. The bond, Phoenix said urgently to the others. We need to form it now. It's the only way to stabilize him. Without consent? Raiden snapped. Absolutely not. He's going to hurt himself, Jax argued. Look at him. He's burning out from the inside. They were right. I could feel it, the magic consuming itself because I had nowhere to put it. My skin felt too tight, my mind too full, everything was fracturing. I grabbed my notepad with shaking hands and wrote 3 words. Do it now. Are you sure? Phoenix asked, taking my face in his hands so I had to look at him. Magnus, this is permanent, there's no going back. If we do this, you're tied to us forever. I nodded frantically, wrote again, trust you. Help me. That was all they needed. The 5 of them linked hands around me, forming a circle, and I felt their power rise to meet mine. Alpha strength, each one different. Raiden's strategic force, Jonas's protective ferocity, Killian's adaptable cunning, Jax's analytical precision, Phoenix's creative flow. Accept our bond, Raiden said formally. Link your power to ours. Let us be your anchor as you are ours. The magic snapped into place like puzzle pieces finding their home. It was overwhelming in a completely different way. Suddenly I could feel them, all 5, like they were part of me. Their emotions, their thoughts, their presence in my mind and heart. The wild power that had been tearing me apart found channels, pathways, flowed through the bond and settled into something controlled and beautiful. The floating books lowered gently to the floor. The windows stopped rattling. The silver light around me softened to a warm glow that spread to include all 5 alphas. And then I felt something else. A tingling in my throat, a warmth spreading through vocal cords that hadn't worked in 10 years. Did it? I started to write, then stopped. Because I'd heard something. A voice. My voice, rough from disuse but definitely there. Did it work? I whispered, and the sound was scratchy and uncertain but real. Phoenix made a sound between a laugh and a sob. You can speak. Oh my God, you can speak. The bond healed you, Jax said, wonder in his voice. The combined alpha power plus your lunar gift. It fixed what was broken. I touched my throat, feeling the vibration as I whispered again. I can talk. I can actually talk. Say something else, Killian encouraged, grinning. Anything. I looked at the 5 of them, at these alphas who'd given me everything including a piece of themselves, and I said the only thing that felt true. Thank you for choosing me too. That broke whatever restraint they'd been showing. Phoenix pulled me into a hug, careful and warm, and the others crowded close. Not overwhelming, just present, supporting. Guys? Tatiana's voice cut through the moment. She was still restrained by Jonas, looking significantly less confident. I don't suppose we can talk about this? No. All 5 alphas said in perfect unison, and I felt their combined protectiveness through the bond like a physical force. You tried to manipulate our Omega, Raiden said coldly. Broke into our territory, threatened our bond. There's nothing to discuss. Take her to the holding cells, Jonas ordered the guards who'd appeared. We'll deal with her later. As they dragged Tatiana away, she shot me one last look. You chose slavery, she hissed. Don't come crying when you realize it. But I could feel the bond, feel the truth of it. This wasn't slavery, it was partnership, connection, belonging. 5 different souls linked to mine, supporting without controlling. So, I said, still getting used to hearing my own voice. What happens now? Now, Phoenix said, we teach you everything. Magic, history, how to navigate this world you're part of. And we keep you safe while you figure out who you want to be. Also paperwork, Jax added. So much paperwork. The bond requires registration with the council, and there are forms. Jax, Killian interrupted. Read the room. Right, sorry. Paperwork later. Over the next weeks, my life transformed in ways I'd never imagined. The bond grew stronger, more natural, until I could barely remember what it felt like to be alone in my own head. I learned to control my magic with their help, discovered I could do way more than move books around. Apparently I could heal minor injuries, sense danger before it arrived, create protective barriers, and, my personal favorite, make flowers bloom from nothing. Phoenix loved that one, used the magical flowers in his art. They took me places too, showed me the city from their perspective. Raiden brought me to council meetings where I learned the politics of magical families. Jonas took me to training centers where I practiced combat magic. Killian showed me the nightlife, the clubs and restaurants where supernatural beings gathered openly. Jax taught me about the tech side of modern magic. Phoenix brought me to galleries and concerts, feeding the artistic part of my soul I'd always neglected. And they courted me in 5 completely different ways. Raiden left books on my nightstand, rare editions about lunar magic with notes in the margins. His thoughts and mine creating a conversation across pages. He'd take me to quiet cafes where we'd read together for hours, not needing to talk but comfortable in the silence. Jonas taught me to fight, but gently, always making sure I felt strong rather than scared. He'd take me hiking in the mountains outside the city, showing me the wild places where magic ran strongest. Once he carried me on his back for 2 miles when I twisted my ankle, and I felt his contentment through the bond, happy to be useful, to protect. Killian made everything an adventure. Random road trips to nearby cities, surprise concerts. That time he rented out an entire arcade just so I could play without crowds. He bought me clothes that made me feel confident, always asking what I liked instead of assuming. Jax was quieter in his affection, but no less real. He built me a custom tablet with communication software for days when speaking still felt hard. He'd send me articles he thought I'd find interesting, random facts at 3 a.m., playlists of songs that reminded him of me. We'd stay up late gaming together, him teaching me strategies while I made him laugh with terrible jokes. Phoenix painted me, not just my face, but moments. Me reading by the window, me laughing at one of Killian's stories, me focused during magic practice. He said I was his muse, that inspiration had never come so easily. We'd spend hours in his studio, him painting while I read aloud, practicing my voice with poetry and stories. It wasn't perfect. We argued sometimes, disagreed on things. The bond didn't erase our individual personalities or opinions, but it made us stronger together than apart. 3 months after the bond formed, the council officially recognized our union. It was a huge ceremony with representatives from every magical family in the region. I wore formal robes that Phoenix had designed, silver and blue with moon phases embroidered along the hem. Nervous? Raiden asked as we waited to enter the council rooms. Terrified? I admitted, my voice getting stronger every day. What if I mess up the ritual words? Then we'll laugh about it later, Killian said with a grin. Relax, Omega. You've already done the hard part, you chose us. The ceremony was beautiful and overwhelming. I had to demonstrate my lunar gift for the council, which involved making an entire garden grow in the middle of their stone room. The looks of awe on their faces when roses bloomed in midair was pretty satisfying. When the head of the council declared our bond official and permanent, I felt the magic solidify even further, like a lock clicking into place, securing something precious. The celebration afterward was massive. Every family who'd once wanted to possess me now came to pay respects, acknowledging that I was under Orlando protection. Some seemed genuinely happy for us, others less so, but they all recognized the bond's legitimacy. Tatiana was there too, under guard, forced to witness what she tried to prevent. She looked bitter, defeated, and I almost felt sorry for her until I remembered she tried to manipulate me for her own gain. "Any regrets?" she asked when the Orlandos allowed her a brief moment to speak with me. I looked at my 5 alphas across the room. Raiden in deep discussion with the council, Jonas watching the crowd for threats, Killian charming a group of younger wolves, Jax managing something on his tablet, Phoenix sketching the party scene. Then I looked back at Tatiana and smiled. Not even one. That night, after all the guests had left and the mansion was quiet, the 6 of us gathered in the library where it had all started. "I've been thinking," I said, my voice confident now. "This library needs a better organization system." "You want to reorganize during our bond celebration party?" Jax asked, amused. "I want to reorganize because it's home," I corrected. "Because this is where I found you, where everything changed. Seems appropriate to make it perfect." "Then we'll help," Phoenix said, already standing. "All of us." And they did. 5 powerful alphas spent the rest of the night shelving books according to my probably too complicated system, arguing good-naturedly about whether poetry should be divided by era or style, laughing when Killian somehow got stuck behind the reference section. Through the bond, I felt their affection, their contentment, their absolute certainty that this was exactly where they wanted to be. "Hey Magnus," Jonas said at some point, looking up from a stack of military histories. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure," I said, still getting a small thrill every time I spoke. "That day you were hiding. What would you have done if we'd actually given up searching?" I thought about it, remembering that terrified version of myself cramped behind encyclopedias. Probably stayed there until morning, then tried to sneak out and disappear. "We never would have stopped looking," Raiden said quietly. "Even if it took all night, all week. We would have found you." "I know that now," I said, smiling at him. "The bond makes a lot of things clearer." "Like what?" Phoenix asked curiously. "Like how you were all just as scared as me that day," I said, feeling the truth of it through our connection. "Scared you'd mess it up, scared I'd reject you, scared of failing the prophecy in me. You hid it better, but the fear was there." "Terrified," Killian admitted. "When you ran, I thought we'd lost our chance before it even started. And when Tatiana grabbed you," Jonas's jaw clenched at the memory. "I've never felt rage like that. The bond was already forming even without the ritual, already making you ours to protect." "You chose us though," Jax said. "In that moment when you could have walked away, could have taken her offer of independence, you chose this instead." "I chose truth over pretty lies," I corrected. "I chose people who saw me as a person. And yeah, I chose you. All 5 of you with your ridiculous group chat names and terrible coffee habits and the way you argued about literally everything." "Our coffee habits are not terrible," Raiden protested. "They're refined." "You drink it black with salt," I said. "That's not refined. That's a crime." Phoenix laughed, the sound warm and free. "He's got you there." We worked through the night, and somewhere around 3 a.m. when we were all sprawled on the library floor surrounded by organized chaos, I realized something. "I'm happy," I said out loud, testing the words. Like actually happy. I don't think I've ever been able to say that before. "Yeah." Phoenix shifted closer, his paint-stained fingers linking with mine. "Good. You deserve happiness." "We all do," Raiden added. "And somehow, impossibly, we found it." The bond hummed with agreement, 6 souls in harmony. Of course, peace never lasted long in our world. 2 weeks later, we got word that 3 other families were forming an alliance against us, claiming we'd monopolized the Lunar Gift unfairly. The council called an emergency meeting, tensions were rising, and suddenly we were preparing for possible conflict. "I can fight," I insisted during the strategy session. "I've been training, I can hold my own." "Absolutely not," all 5 alphas said immediately. "See, this is exactly what Tatiana meant," I argued, frustrated. You're deciding things for me instead of with me. We're not deciding anything, Raiden said carefully. We're expressing concern. There's a difference. Feels the same from where I'm sitting. Through the bond, I felt their conflict. The desire to protect me warring with the knowledge that I had the right to make my own choices. Finally, Phoenix spoke up. What if we compromise? You train with us, prepare for the worst, but you stay in reserve unless absolutely necessary. That way you're ready but not in immediate danger. I considered it, felt the other's reluctant agreement through the bond. Okay, but I want real training. Not the gentle stuff. If I'm going to be useful, I need to actually know what I'm doing. Deal, Jonas said, though he looked pained. But if you get hurt during training, we're going back to gentle. The next weeks were intense. I learned combat magic, defensive spells, how to use my Lunar Gift as a weapon when necessary. Turned out I was pretty good at it. The same creativity that helped me organize books made me unpredictable in magical fights. You're a natural, Jack said after I managed to trap him in a barrier of solidified moonlight. Seriously, you've got instincts that take most people years to develop. Or maybe I'm just motivated, I said, releasing him. Can't let my alphas have all the fun. The conflict came to a head at the next council meeting. The 3 alliance families demanded that I be shared among all the major houses, claiming one family having exclusive bond rights was unfair. I stood before the council, my 5 alphas flanking me, and spoke with a voice that no longer shook. I'm not a resource to be distributed, I said clearly. I'm a person who made a choice. The bond isn't political strategy. It's real, it's personal, and it's mine. If you can't respect that, then you don't deserve access to the Lunar Gift's benefits at all. The room went silent. Nobody had expected the quiet Omega to have such steel in his voice. The prophecy says the Lunar Blessed will bring balance, I continued. But balance doesn't mean everyone gets equal shares of power. It means each element finds its proper place. My place is with the Orlandos, bonded by choice and sealed by magic. That's not going to change. The head of the council, an ancient vampire named Celeste, smiled slightly. Well said, young Omega. The bond stands as formed. Does anyone wish to challenge this ruling? The alliance families looked furious but didn't argue further. Challenging a council ruling meant combat, and nobody wanted to fight a lunar-blessed Omega backed by 5 powerful alphas. We won, but the victory felt precarious. Political tensions didn't disappear just because we'd made our point. They'll keep pushing, Raiden said on the drive home. Look for weaknesses, try to divide us. Then we don't give them any, I said firmly. We stay united. We stay strong. Through the bond, I felt their determination matching mine. Life settled into a new rhythm after that. I split my time between library work, magic training, and council duties. The Orlandos enemies learned to respect our bond, even if they didn't like it. Some families even approached us for help, asking if my Lunar Gift could solve problems their own magic couldn't handle. I helped where I could, healing a cursed child, purifying corrupted territory, mediating disputes with neutral moon magic. Felt good using my power for something beyond just survival. You're changing things, Phoenix told me one evening in his studio. The way people view Omegas, the way magic is used. You're making a difference. We're making a difference, I corrected. I couldn't do any of this without the bond. He pulled me close, and I rested my head on his shoulder, comfortable in the silence. Can I tell you something? He asked after a while. Always. That first day when you were hiding in the library, I was so scared we'd never find you, that you'd slip away and we'd lose something precious before we even knew what it was. And then when you finally came out, when you trusted us enough to try, he paused, emotion thick in his voice. That was the moment I knew everything would be okay. That we'd found something real. I was terrified, I admitted. But also, there was this tiny part of me that wanted to be found. Wanted to belong somewhere, to someone. I just didn't know how to ask for it. You don't have to ask, he said softly. You already belong. The seasons changed, And with them came new challenges and joys. Killian took me to the ocean for the first time, taught me to swim in moonlit waters where my magic made the waves glow silver. Jonas brought me to the mountains during the first snow, showed me how beautiful and fierce nature could be. Raiden traveled with me to other cities, introduced me to council members who became allies and friends. Jax built me a library database system that was probably too advanced for a personal collection but made me absurdly happy. And through it all, the bond grew deeper. What had started as a desperate magical connection became genuine love, the kind that developed slowly through shared experiences and trust. 1 year after the bond formed, we had a private celebration. Just the 6 of us, no council, no politics. Phoenix had organized it, turned the library into something magical with floating lights and flowers grown from my power. Speech time, Killian announced, raising a glass. I'll go first. Magnus, you came into our lives like a whirlwind made of books and stubbornness, and you've made everything better. Here's to many more years of you reorganizing things we didn't know needed reorganizing. I laughed, feeling warm and loved. My turn, Jonas said. I've protected a lot of people in my life, but you're the first one who made me feel like protection was partnership. Thank you for being strong enough to let us be strong for you. Jax went next. You make me see magic differently, like it's not just power to be analyzed but something beautiful and alive. Also, you're the only person who beats me at strategy games, and I respect that immensely. Raiden's speech was characteristically thoughtful. I've lived a long time, made thousands of decisions, good and bad. Choosing to pursue you to form this bond, that was the best decision I've ever made. You've brought light to places in my life I didn't know were dark. Phoenix didn't make a speech, just handed me a wrapped canvas. When I opened it, my breath caught. It was a painting of all 6 of us in the library that first night, books floating around us, silver light connecting us like threads of fate. It's how I see us, he said simply. Broken pieces finding their perfect fit. Thank you, I said, my voice thick with emotion. All of you, for seeing me, for choosing me, for being patient while I figured out how to choose you back. We spent the rest of the night in the library where it all started, talking and laughing and existing in the comfortable space we'd created together. And when Killian suggested we organize the new shipment of books that had arrived, nobody complained, because even mundane tasks felt special when we did them together. The bond hummed with contentment, 6 souls perfectly balanced. Later, much later, when everyone else had drifted off to their own rooms, I stayed in the library alone for a moment. Ran my fingers along the spines of books, remembered that terrified version of myself hiding behind encyclopedias. I found you, I whispered to that memory. We found each other. The silver light glinted around my fingertips, warm and gentle, a reminder that magic had brought us together, but love had made us stay. And really, that was the best kind of story, the kind where the scared Omega hiding in the library found 5 alphas who didn't want to own him but to know him, where prophecy became choice, where running away led to running toward. I turned off the lights and headed upstairs, feeling 5 different presences waiting for me through the bond. My alphas, my partners, my home. Not bad for a mute librarian who just wanted to organize books in peace. Thanks for watching me find his happily ever after. Show some love with a like, and comment your favorite scene because reading your reactions literally makes my day. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story where an Omega chef accidentally poisons 5 Mafia bosses and has to cook his way out of trouble.